The Lord is my shepherd.
The Lord is my shepherd.
I shall not want.
I shall not want.
He maketh me to lie down in green pastures.
He maketh me to lie down in green pastures.
He leadeth me beside still waters.
He leadeth me beside the still waters.
He restoreth my soul.
He restoreth my soul.
He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake.
He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name.
Happy Sabbath, everybody.
Happy Sabbath!
The class that we got to do periodically just so we can remember why we're here in this country. Title of this class is The Punishment is from God and No One Else. The punishment is from God and no one else. And this is the reason why we want to do classes like this is to prove that there was no time in history when the white man said, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go grab God's chosen people, and I'm going to keep them in slavery for 400 years. They ain't that smart. We were delivered to them. Now, what they did after we were delivered to them, I don't believe God wanted them to do, which they're going to have to pay for. But the fact of the matter is, we were delivered to them because of what we did. So let's look at this. We're going to start this in Deuteronomy, the 26th chapter. Deuteronomy, the 26th chapter. Check 1, 2. I'll have to get me a lapel mic. Deuteronomy 26. Deuteronomy 26. And we're going to pick it up at verse 15. Deuteronomy 26 and verse 15. Because despite what God has done to us, he really didn't want to do it. He really didn't want to do it. He really loved us. And he really chose us to be an example for the rest of the world so that he can show the rest of the world he loved them too. You know, contrary to what these super brews are saying, God don't just love Israel. He loved the whole creation. Adam wasn't Israel. He loved the whole creation. As the creation went wrong, and then he chose Israel to try to bring them back. And Israel said, we ain't doing it. And that's the reason why we're here. But now, once we got here and got all these knots on our head, Israel's like, okay, what you want me to do? Who's that story remind you of? Jonah. Jonah didn't want to preach to those Africans. And he ran the other way when the Lord told him to go that way. But when it was all said and done, he was right there on the shore of them Africans. And when he realized all the hell he had been through and the reason why, because he didn't do what God told him, he said, okay, I'm getting ready to preach to them. And he preached to them, and they repented to his chagrin. He didn't even like that. They repented and changed their ways. And that's what we're supposed to be doing is out here. We've been thrown in the belly of a ship against our will, spit out on shores all over the world, and the Lord is tapping us on the head saying, okay, Jonah, go do my job. Go do my work. Deuteronomy 26 and verse 15. Go ahead.
Look down from thy holy habitation from heaven, and bless thy people Israel, in the land which thou hast given us, as thou swearest unto our fathers, a land that floweth with milk and honey.
He brought us there. He brought us there because he wanted to bless us, and he wanted us to be his people, his kingdom of priests. Go ahead.
This day the Lord thy God hath commanded thee to do these statutes and judgments. Thou shalt therefore keep and do them with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Thou hast avouched the Lord this day to be thy God, and to walk in his ways, and keep his statutes, and his commandments, and his judgments, and to hearken unto his voice.
And our forefathers did that. They agreed to obey God. Go ahead.
And the Lord hath avouched thee this day to be his peculiar people, as he hath promised thee, and that thou shouldest keep all his commandments.
You will be his peculiar people, or his promised possession, or his treasured possession, if you keep his commandments. Go ahead.
And to make thee high above all nations which he hath made, in praise, and in name, and in honor, and that thou mayest be a holy people unto the Lord thy God, as he hath spoken.
That's what he wanted for us. That's all he wanted for us. To be a holy people and an example. But this is what we did. Go to Isaiah, the first chapter. Isaiah 1. Isaiah, the first chapter. Some Israelites think that because God put us in this condition, that the Gentile could do whatever he wants, and we got to just take it. And that we should, for instance, the book say, love your enemy. Well, we in the land of our enemies. So if your enemy come to you and say, look, I'm getting ready to go to your house and kill your whole family, how are you going to show, what kind of love you going to show him? What kind of love can you show him? Are you supposed to say, well, I guess I got to take it because God put me here under your tutelage? Or are you going to go home and protect your family? This is where we got to find a balance between this love your enemy and people who hate you and want to kill you. There's got to be a balance there. My first thought is when he said love your enemy, the first propensity for Israel, because they've been through all this stuff for 400 years, to say, I don't care, I don't want the white man to participate in nothing I got to do with. I don't want him nowhere around me. That's not what God wants. To love your enemy would say, okay, look, you acknowledge the fact that what you did was wrong. I know what I did was wrong. God is punishing me. If you repent, keep his commandments, and do what God said, then you too can walk into his kingdom. But you can't, God is not going to save the Gentile from what he did to us because God put us in his hands. You understand what I'm saying? And this is what some of these Israelites got this mindset where, we're supposed to just bow down to the Gentile in every form and every fashion. Well, my thing is this. When it comes to the law of God, if he's keeping the law, I'll work with him. But it's like with Daniel. The rule, the law came down, and he was supposed to, when he heard the sound of the trumpet, what was it, 6 times or something? He was supposed to bow down to their God. And he said, I ain't doing it. He got in the window and said, I ain't doing it. And he went and got thrown into the lion's den because of it. And God saved him. But my point is that if it's an unjust law, if it's wrong, you don't have to do it. You don't have to honor them. If they mistreat you, you don't have to honor them because the Lord put us in their hands. If they treat you, because the books say that even if you are sold yourself in slavery, after 7 years, they're supposed to let you go. So they ain't following the book. So we got, like I said, we got to find a balance between this love your enemy and the fact that we are in the land of our enemies. I'll give them, if a Caucasian or a Gentile want to come in here and sit down and learn the word, he is welcome. But he is never going to be standing before this congregation teaching, because that's their mindset. Eventually they'll rise up to be the ruler. Never. Now if he can stand that, he can come and he can lay on the chair if he won't. I don't care. He can enjoy himself. But there's a protocol now, and we are the priest of God. We have the word of God. They don't prove they don't, because they have come up with these 250 denominations that say 250 different things. Isaiah, the 1st chapter and verse 1. But this again is the reason why we're here. The reason why he put us in the hand of this Gentile is because of what we did. And we got to fix that so we can get back right with our God. Verse 1.
The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah.
Go ahead.
Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord has spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me.
Lord said, I have nourished. That means he fed us. He brought us up from nothing out of Egypt. And what did we do? We rebelled against him. And so this is some blood that's in our veins. This is something we got to work on in our mind. Because our forefathers rebelled against God, and they saw him in his glory. And they rebelled. We ain't seen him. We got to really work hard not to be like our forefathers. Go ahead.
The ox knoweth its owner, and the ass its master's crib. But Israel does not know, my people does not consider.
Ain't got enough sense as an ass, is what the book is saying. And this blood is running through our veins. This is where we got to take our responsibility. Go ahead.
Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity.
A people laden with sin. Go ahead.
A seed of evildoers. Children that are corrupt.
They ain't satisfied with just corrupting themselves. They're going to try to slip up next to you and corrupt you too. Go ahead.
They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel into anger.
So we have pissed off God. And that is a hell of a position to be in when you done pissed off the God of creation. And he said, look at our condition for the last 400 years. It's a result. And it's been cruel. Go ahead.
They are all gone away backward. Why should you be stricken anymore? You will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint.
Go ahead.
From the sole of the foot even to the head, there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises it. petrifying swords that have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Your country is desolate. Your cities are burned with fire.
As it is to this day, our country right now is desolate. We got two different strangers over there fighting over it, and they blowing it up every 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Your land, strangers devour it in your
You
presence.
can look on TV and watch them tearing up your land. Go ahead.
And it is desolate as overthrown by strangers.
And it is overthrown by strangers because they have no business over there. Go ahead.
And the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city.
Go ahead.
Except the Lord of hosts had left unto us a very small
And
remnant.
that's what I'm looking at. That's what we have now is a very small remnant according to what he had promised Abraham that his seed would be as the sands of the sea. Now we're just a small remnant. Go ahead.
We should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah.
So what he's saying, what Isaiah is saying is, for what we did, we should have been destroyed completely, just like Sodom and Gomorrah. But go ahead.
Hear the word of the Lord, ye rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the law of our God, ye people of Gomorrah.
All right, let's go to Deuteronomy 31st chapter. Because he prophesied, here's the sad part about this. The Lord come to you and he tell you, you know what? In 10 years, you're going to utterly rebel against me and you're going to do some stupid things. You would think at the 9th year, you start talking to yourself saying, I can't do this. I can't do it. I got to fix myself. I got to correct myself. Lord came to our forefathers and said, this is what you're going to do. And they did it. Deuteronomy 31. Like Peter. He told Peter was swearing up and down, I ain't going to deny you, Lord. I ain't going to deny you. He said, Peter, before the cock crow 3 times, you're going to tell him 3 times you don't know me. Oh, I swear it ain't going to happen. Peter started cursing. I ain't going to happen. The Lord said, yeah, right. They took the Lord, came to Peter.
I don't know.
3 times. I don't know him. Deuteronomy 31 and verse 14. This is what the Lord told Moses. Deuteronomy 31 and verse 14.
And the Lord said unto Moses, behold, the days approach that thou must die.
Mm-hmm.
Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, that I may give him a charge.
Go ahead.
And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation. And the Lord appeared in the tabernacle in a pillar of a cloud. And the pillar of the cloud stood over the door of the tabernacle.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers.
You're going to die.
And this people will rise up and go a-whoring after other gods, and of the strangers of the land, whether they go to be among them, and will forsake me, and break my covenant, which I have made with them.
Now, he done told us in advance we were going to do this. You would think we would work not to do it, but we fell right into it. Go ahead.
Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, are not these evils come upon us, because our God is not among us?
So when we in this captivity and we in this hell we're in, we're supposed to look at ourselves and say, why is this happening to us? Why is the so-called Negro in this condition? Why is he the last person on earth anybody wants anything to do with? Why is it us? And then we would read, these evils will come upon us because God is not with us. Go ahead.
And I will surely hide my face in that day for all the evils which they have wrought, in that they are turned into other gods. Now therefore write ye this song for you, and teach it to the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths, and this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
When I have brought them into the land which I swear unto their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey, that they should have eaten and filled themselves and waxen fat, then will they turn unto other gods and serve them and provoke me and break my covenant.
And break my covenant. The book says he didn't have a problem with his covenant. He had a problem with them. Go ahead.
It shall come to pass when many evils and troubles are befallen them, that this song shall testify against them as a witness.
And right now, this song is testifying against us as a witness. Why we're in the condition we're in. That's prophetic. Go ahead.
For it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed.
We still have it. The Lord's word will not come back void. He said it will not be forgotten out of the mouth of their seed. We have it. Go ahead.
For I know their imagination which they are about, even now, for I have brought them into the land which I swear.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Jeremiah, the 8th chapter. Yeah. I don't know, the Lord came to, like I said last week, the Lord came to that brother and told him you was going to die. The brother repented, fell on his face and cried, and the Lord gave him 15 more years. So if the Lord prophesied something bad gonna happen to you, it's a possibility you could pray your way, you could beg your way out of it. You know, but you gotta try. Jeremiah 8 chapter. He died, he sure died. Yeah. Jeremiah the 8th chapter. Jeremiah the 8th chapter and verse 1. Because to be honest with you, most Israel is dead right now. And I'm not talking about physical, I'm talking about spiritually dead. So they're gonna be packing them joints up tomorrow, spiritually dead. Jeremiah 8 and verse 1.
At that time, saith the Lord, they shall bring out the bones of the kings of Judah, and the bones of his princes, and the bones of the priests, and the bones of the prophets, and the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of their graves.
Let you know they are all dead. Go ahead.
And they shall spread them before the sun and the moon and all the hosts of heaven whom they have loved, whom they have served, and after whom they have walked, and whom they have sought, whom they have worshipped.
So who were they worshiping? The host of heaven, the moon, the sun. That's who they were worshiping. That's what when you deal with Sunday worship, you're dealing with sun worship. It's all that simple. Go ahead.
They shall not be gathered up nor be buried. They shall be for dung upon the face of the earth. And death shall be chosen rather than life, by all the residue of them that remain of this evil family.
And even in this day, we are choosing death. We're eating the wrong things that are killing us. We're shooting each other up. All kinds of things. Go ahead.
Which remain in all places whether I have driven them.
Whether I have driven them. It's the Lord, he put us here. And he gave the Gentiles the back. He didn't expect them to go crazy with it, but he gave them the back. Go ahead.
Moreover, thou shalt say unto them, thus saith the Lord, shall they fall and not arise? Shall they turn away and not return?
Is it over for this people? Can they recover? Go ahead.
Why then is this people of Jerusalem slidden back by a perpetual backslide? They hold fast deceit. They refuse to return.
That's why they can't recover, because they have to return. They have to repent, which means to turn around and walk back to God. Go ahead.
I hearkened and heard, but they spake not aright. No man repented him of his wickedness, saying, what have I done?
And you ain't gonna come to God. That's why, this thing where Jesus said, forgive your brother, he do something against you, forgive him 7 times 70. But that is only if he asks for it. I see these people on TV that have murdered up a whole church, and they walk and murder up all these black people in the church, and they walk up to this little white boy and say, we forgive you. How in the hell are you going to forgive him and he's not repentant? If you gave him a gun, he would do it again. You a fool talking about forgive him. He needs to request forgiveness, and he needs to request it from God. And he still got to pay for what he did. Because the book says, be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever you sow, so shall you reap. Which lets me know that the mistreatment that these Gentiles are doing on us, they're going to pay for it. So I'm going to try to save them by telling them, look, what you're doing is wrong. You better stop if you want salvation.
Amen.
Stop hurting our people. Stop killing them in the streets if you want salvation. I would say that. Go ahead and read. Most of the Hebrews, they're afraid. The Gentiles, they're afraid of them. Go ahead. I hope I'm not becoming some kind of national black Hebrew Israelite. Nationalist.
I think that's what Jesus was. He said, don't go
I'm nationalist black Hebrew Israelite. He did say that. But that was for a purpose. But the national black Hebrew Israelite wouldn't allow a Gentile into the nation. So I'm not that. That's true. Go ahead and read.
Verse 7. Yea, the stork in the heaven knoweth her appointed time. And the turtle and the crane and the swallow observe the time of their coming.
Go ahead.
But my people know not the judgment of the Lord.
Sometimes you just have to ask yourself, what's wrong with this people? What's wrong with me? Don't even put it on nobody else. You look in the mirror and say, what's wrong with me? Why can't I keep God's commandments? Go ahead and read.
How do you say we are wise and the law of the Lord is with us? Lo, certainly in vain made he it. The pen of the scribes is in vain.
Why is it in vain? Because he wrote it down, but you ain't doing it. Go ahead.
The wise men are ashamed. They are dismayed and taken. Lo, they have rejected the word of the Lord, and what wisdom is in them?
It's all that simple.
Therefore will I give their wives unto others.
That was done.
And their fields to them that shall inherit
You can
them.
look over on TV now and see them over there in our fields. Go ahead.
For everyone from the least even to the greatest is given unto covetousness. From the prophet even to the priest, everyone dealeth falsely.
Even to this day, they have the God of wealth, the church of wealth, and people are worshiping wealth. You know, people think Donald Trump is special or Kanye is special because they got money. And neither one of them are special in any way. But if I were to win $2 million, people will be treating me like I'm some kind of king or something. That is a worship of wealth. And we don't deal with that. Go ahead and read.
For they have healed the hurt of the daughter of my people slightly, saying, peace, peace, when there is no peace.
What verse you at?
Verse 12 now.
Go ahead.
Were they ashamed when they had committed abomination?
Were our forefathers ashamed when they started doing this foolishness? Go ahead.
Nay, they were not at all ashamed.
God said, no, they weren't ashamed.
Neither could they blush. Therefore shall they fall among them that fall. And in the time of their visitation they shall be cast down, saith the Lord.
And I'll show you when that time came and how we got cast down to where we are right now. And trust me, it is down. Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and go over a few of these curses that he said he was going to put on us if we didn't keep his commandments. We don't got to go through all of them. I'm sure everybody's aware of them. We're just going to deal with the points that this is why we're in this condition. Deuteronomy 28 and 15. And we can fix it. We turn back to our God. He told us he would be a little sanctuary to us in the countries where he drove us. That means a sanctuary is a place of protection. Amen. He would protect us. Amen. That's why my motto is to move back to the ghetto. Move back to Goshen. That's what I'm calling the ghetto now, Goshen. So we take care of our own there. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
And this is a good place to bring people, to show them, because most people don't believe that God will curse you. They think Satan is going to curse you. Satan works for God. If Satan hurts you in any way, you better go talk to God and find out why he removed your hedge. Was he bragging on you, or did you do something that caused your hedge to walk away? Those are the two questions you have to ask. Go ahead and read.
Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field. Cursed shall thou be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, and the increase of thy kind, and flocks of thy sheep.
Skip down to verse 25.
The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
And this is what you got to make sure you emphasize when you show somebody this, that you wasn't going to immigrate, you wasn't going to migrate, you wasn't going to vacation in America. You were going to be removed. That means taken. And even the law says it's against the law to steal a man.
Amen.
Go ahead and read.
And the carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away.
Skip down to verse 29.
And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways.
And thou shalt not prosper in all your ways. That's the reason why we are still, I heard it this morning on the news, that the average white family has $178,000 worth of wealth. The average white family has $178,000 worth of wealth. Do you know what the average black family has for wealth? What is it?
Because I heard
What did you hear?
17,000.
$17,000. The average black family has $17,000 worth of wealth. And the average white family has $170,000. How is that disparity possible? Go ahead and read.
And thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away.
Verse 29.
And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness,
Mm-hmm.
and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways.
That's why, because we can't prosper.
And
Go
thou
ahead.
shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee.
And ain't no African showed up with no boat talking about let my people go. We gonna launch a war against America unless you return our people. Ain't seen nobody. Ain't heard nobody. Go over there now and they don't even like you. Go ahead and read.
Black crime is heavy.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee.
Go
Thou
ahead.
shalt betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her.
If this ain't prophetic, I don't know what is. It's almost like the Gentiles read this and say, okay, we can do this. Go ahead.
Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shall not gather the grapes thereof.
Skip down to 32.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
Mm-hmm.
And there shall be no might in thy hand.
No strength to stop this. Verse 36.
The Lord shall bring thee, and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
And so we know this had nothing to do with Europe or Africa, because our fathers were familiar with all of that area. It's America, South America, Central America that he's talking about. Go ahead.
In the fruit of thy land and all the laborers shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crush all of it, so that thou shalt be
Skip
mad.
down to verse 36.
And the Lord shall bring thee and thy king which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone.
And it's here that they gave us these crosses, these wooden and steel and metal crosses, most of them with Jesus still hanging on it. Isn't that something? Because if Jesus is still on the cross, you look at them Catholics, they got Jesus still on the stick. If he is on that stick, we are dead in our sins and there's no hope for salvation. Go ahead and read.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee.
What kind of bywords do they use for us? I know they got a ton of them. Coonye? Go ahead and read. Go ahead and read. No, I'll skip down to verse 41. I'm sorry for that.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity.
They're going to go into slavery. The Lord prophesied this way back in Deuteronomy 28, and our forefathers heard it. They wrote it down, and they still let it happen. Go ahead.
All thy trees and the fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
You know, when I first read this, I didn't understand it, but now I understand it perfectly. What he's saying is when you go into this captivity, people are going to come from Pakistan, from Korea, from China, and they're going to show up with nothing in their pocket, and within 2 or 3 years, they're going to have more than you. They're going to get up high, and you're going to stay low. And we can go look at all the shops in our community and see that it's a prophecy come true. Because we don't have no stores in this community, but the Pakistans, the Arabs, the Asians. Go ahead.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him.
There it is. Who do we lend to? Where's our bank? Go ahead.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
As it is to this day.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee till thou be destroyed. Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded.
And that's how you fix it. You start listening and you start keeping his commandments, and then then all these curses will come off of you. It might take a little while to get all of them off you because it's been so long they've been on you. But then the blessings, Deuteronomy 28 verse 1, you can go call on God for the blessings now because you are keeping his commandment. Go ahead and read. People think that I get this impression that we still gonna be downtrodden because even if we find out who we are and we start keeping God's commandments, we still got to take what it is we get. No, we're supposed to be able to stand up now. And the Lord said he's going to be a sanctuary to us. He's going to protect us in the place we are. He said he would force these Gentiles to have compassion on us. Go ahead and read.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
And this is something else you could point out, that anytime you find a people that's been in slavery all over the world, that's been abused and spoiled evermore, that's the tail and not the head, you done found the chosen people of God. You also found the so-called Negro. Go ahead and read.
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
That's what we serving now. They are our enemies. And they're not, and here's another dilemma. You might be working with a Caucasian, and he might be the best guy in the world. He might even help you, he might give you money, he might give you a job. But the Caucasian system is your enemy. And unless that particular Caucasian is willing to stand up against his system, he is not truly your friend. He's an agent. Go ahead and read.
Therefore thou shalt serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want in all things. He shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, that swift as the eagle flies.
Using the symbol that we're under right now, the eagle. The same symbol that destroyed Rome in 70 AD destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD was Rome, and they used the eagle. Go ahead and read.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young.
One day I'd like to bring these pictures I got. I got a picture that shows a 3-year-old child. I'm talking about could barely stand and walk by himself in the cotton fields picking cotton. They didn't care. And if they wanted to walk over a puddle of water, you had to lay down and let them step on you. Go ahead and read.
And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, for the increase of thy kind, or flocks, or thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee.
Verse 58.
If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God, and the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful.
And he ain't talking about good plagues. He's talking about you're going to wonder, why is all these plagues coming on me? Go ahead.
And the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, long continuance, and sore sickness, and long continuance.
Go ahead.
Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. And every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee, until thou be destroyed.
As a nation of people, go ahead.
And ye shall be left few in number, whereas you are as the stars of heaven.
He told Abraham that he was going to have his seed was going to be as the stars of heaven. And we done managed to reduce this part of his seed to few in number because of our behavior. Go ahead.
Because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. And it shall come to pass, as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you, to bring you to naught. And you shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it.
As it is to this day.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Go ahead.
And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind.
Go ahead.
And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear the day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, Would God it were even, and at evening thou shalt say, Would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thy eyes which thou shalt see.
Go ahead.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
So when he says the Lord going to bring you into Egypt again, what was Egypt to the house of Israel? Bondage. So what he's saying is he's going to bring you into bondage again in ships. We didn't leave Egypt in ships. We walked. Supposed to be an 11-day journey. Because of our behavior, it took us 40 years. But we didn't go in ships. But now we're going to go into bondage in ships. Go ahead.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
You ain't going back to Jerusalem when this happens. Go ahead.
And there you shall be sold unto your enemies, for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
No man going to buy you back. No African's going to come and say, I'll pay for them. Then he have them back. You just sold off. Deuteronomy 29 and verse 9. 29 and 9. Deuteronomy 29 and verse 9. Go ahead.
Keep therefore the words of this covenant and do them.
It's all that simple. The Lord is saying, keep them and do them.
That you may prosper in all that you do.
And you start keeping them and doing them. It might take a little while for prosperity to catch up to you, but you will start prospering. Go ahead.
Ye stand this day, all you, before the Lord your God, your captains, and your tribes, your elders, and your officers with all the men of Israel.
Go ahead.
Your little ones, your wives, and the stranger that is in thy camp.
Even the stranger that's in the camp. Go ahead.
From the hewer of thy wood unto the drawer of thy water, that thou shouldest enter into the covenant with the Lord thy God and into his oath, which the Lord thy God maketh with thee this day, that he may establish thee today for a people unto himself, and that he may be unto thee a God, as he hath said unto thee, and as he hath sworn unto thy fathers, to Abraham and to Isaac and to Jacob.
Go ahead.
Neither with you only do I make this covenant and this oath, but with them that standeth here with us this day before the Lord our God, and also with him that is not here with us this day.
That's you. You're the descendants of those people that were standing with him on that day when he made the covenant. And now the covenant has also come down to you. Go ahead.
For ye know how we have dealt in the land of Egypt, how we came through the nations which ye passed by. And ye have seen their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which were among them. Lest there should be among you man or woman or family or tribe whose heart turneth away this day from the Lord our God, and go and serve the gods of these nations. Lest there should be among you a root that beareth gall and wormwood.
Go ahead.
And it come to pass when he heareth the words of this curse, that he blessed himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace.
You know, read the curses. The Lord said, you keep these commandments or you're going to be under the curse. And yeah, I ain't being under no curse. Good for you. I mean, good luck for you. Go ahead.
Though I walk in the imagination of my
Read
heart.
19 again.
And it came to pass when he heareth the words of this curse, that he blessed himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of my heart, to add drunkenness to thirst.
Go ahead.
The Lord will not spare him.
The Lord will not spare him.
But then the anger of the Lord and his jealousy shall smoke against that man. And all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him.
If the Lord, what he said, the Lord will not spare that man, but the anger of the Lord and the jealousy, he will smoke him. Go ahead. That's a term they use nowadays. I'm going to smoke you. Go ahead.
The Lord shall blot out his name from under heaven.
That's something right there.
And the Lord shall separate him into evil out of all the tribes of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant that are written in this book.
Go ahead.
Of law. So that the generation to come of your children that shall rise up after you, and the stranger that shall come up from a far land, shall say when he see the plagues of the land, and the sickness which the Lord hath laid upon it, that the whole land thereof is brimstone and salt and burning, that it is not sown, nor beareth, nor any grass groweth therein, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which the Lord overthrew in his anger and in his wrath.
Go ahead.
Even all nations shall say, wherefore hath the Lord done this unto this land?
Why is it? What happened to these people? Why are they in this condition? Go ahead.
What meaneth the heat of this great anger?
Uh-huh.
The men shall say, because they have forsaken the covenant of the Lord God of their fathers,
That's why. We have forsaken the covenant of God. Go ahead.
which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt.
Go ahead.
For they went and served other gods and worshipped them, gods whom they knew not, and whom he had not given unto them. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against this land, to bring upon it all the curses that are written in this book. And the Lord rooted them out of their land in anger.
In anger.
And in wrath.
Uh-huh.
And in great indignation. And cast them out into another land, as it is this day.
As it is to this day.
The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever. And we may do all the words of this law.
That we may do all the words of his law. Isaiah 42. Isaiah 42nd chapter. Isaiah the 42nd chapter. I'll pick it up at verse 17. Isaiah 42 and verse 17. Because now, once we got removed into all the kingdoms of the earth, you go anywhere on the earth where we're in any numbers, and the first place you go is go to the prison and see who's in there. It was prophesied. Isaiah 42 and verse 17. and 17. Go ahead.
They shall be turned back. They shall be greatly ashamed that trust in graven images. That say to the molten images, ye are our God.
Uh-huh.
Hear ye deaf, and look ye blind, that ye may see.
He's talking to Israel. He said, hear you deaf, and look you blind, that you could see. Go ahead.
Who is blind but my servant?
My servant Israel.
Or deaf as my messenger that I sent?
Uh-huh.
Who is blind as he have that is perfect, and blind as the Lord's servant?
Go ahead.
Seeing many things, but thou observest not. Opening the ears, but he heareth not.
Go ahead.
The Lord is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He will magnify the law and make it honorable.
He gonna magnify. Don't sound like to me he ever gonna do away with the law. He said he gonna magnify the law and make it honorable. Go ahead.
But this is a people robbed and spoiled.
But this is a people that's robbed and spoiled. Go ahead.
They are all of them snared and whole.
Uh-huh.
And they are hid in prison house.
And they're hid in prison house. This is prophetic. This is what it is to this day. They are all hid in prison houses. Go ahead.
They are for a prey,
Uh-huh.
and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith, restore.
Go ahead.
Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear, for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil, Israel to the robbers?
Who did this to Israel? Go ahead.
Did not the Lord?
Uh-huh.
He against whom we have sinned.
Go ahead.
For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law.
This is why. Go ahead.
Therefore he hath poured upon him the fury of his anger, and the strength of battle. He hath set him on fire round about, yet he knew not.
Israel is burning and don't even know it. Go ahead.
And it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart.
Jeremiah, the 7th chapter. Jeremiah 7. The punishment is from God and no one else. And if we're going to get right with him, we have to get right with him. Really right. And be sincere about it. And he said he'll help us. Jeremiah 7 and verse 1. Jeremiah 7 and verse 1.
The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Stand in the gate of the Lord's house, and proclaim there this word, and say, Hear the word of the Lord, all ye of Judah, that enter at these gates to worship the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, amend your ways and your doings, and I will cause you to dwell in this place.
Amend your ways and your doings, and you could stay in the land of Israel. Go ahead.
Trust ye not in lying words, saying, The temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord are these. For if ye thoroughly amend your ways and your doings, if ye thoroughly execute judgment between a man and his neighbor,
Go ahead.
if you oppress not the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, and shed not innocent blood in this place, neither walk after other gods to your hurt,
Go ahead.
then will I cause you to dwell in this place, in the land that I gave to your fathers, forever and ever.
Forever and ever. Go ahead.
Behold, you trust in lying words that cannot profit. Will you steal, murder, commit adultery, and swear falsely, and burn incense unto Baal, and walk after other gods whom ye knew not, and come and stand before me in this house, which is called by my name, and say, We are delivered to do all these abominations.
We are delivered. That's what they're saying on Sunday, that the Lord, no matter what you do, the Lord loves you. He hates the sin, not the sinner. And no matter what you do, he loves you, and they verify that because you could be the wickedest person in the world and die. And you go to the funeral, and they put you up in heaven. Go ahead and read.
Behold, even I have seen it, saith the Lord. But go ye now into my place, which was in Shiloh, where I set my name at the first, and see what I did for the wickedness of my people Israel.
Go ahead. We can go look back in Exodus and see where the ground opened up and swallowed. I think one time it was 22,000 people. Go ahead.
And now, because ye done all these works, saith the Lord, I spake unto you rising up early and speaking, but ye heard not. And I called you, but ye answered not.
Go ahead.
Therefore will I do unto this house which is called by my name, wherein ye trust, and to the place which I gave to you, and to your fathers, as I have done to Shiloh. I will cast you out of my sight, and as I have cast out all your brethren, even the whole seed of Ephraim.
This is where we are now, cast out of his sight, until we start keeping his commandments and doing what he said. Go ahead.
Therefore pray not thou for this people, neither lift up a cry nor prayer for them, neither make intercession to me, for I will not hear them.
That's pretty hard right there. So you got somebody, you keeping the commandments, you got somebody you know who refuse to do what the Lord said, and they're sick. The Lord is telling you, you shouldn't even be praying for them. That's hard. Go ahead and read.
Seest thou not what they do in the cities of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather wood, and the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven.
The Queen of Heaven is these pagan practices like the Easter, Astarte. This is what that was about. Go ahead.
And to pour out drink offerings to other gods, that they may provoke me to anger.
That they might make God mad. Go ahead.
Do they provoke me in anger, saith the Lord? Do they not provoke themselves to the confusion of their own faces?
Go ahead.
Therefore thus saith the Lord God, Behold, my anger and my fury shall be poured out upon this place, upon man, upon beast, and upon the trees of the field, and upon the fruit of the ground. It shall burn and shall not be quenched.
Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Put your burnt offerings and your sacrifices and eat flesh.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, take your burnt offerings and you eat the flesh. Because I told you obedience is better than sacrifice. Go ahead.
For I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt concerning burnt offerings of sacrifice.
He gave the 10 commandments, and in Deuteronomy the 5th chapter says he added no more. It wasn't until they started breaking the commandments that he added the sacrifice. Go ahead.
But this thing commanded I them, saying, obey my voice, and I will be your God. You shall be my people. And walking all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well with you.
That it may be well with you. If things aren't going well with you, you need to check your walk. Go ahead.
But they hearkened not, nor inclined their ear, but walked in the counsels and in the imagination of their evil heart, and went backward and not forward.
Go ahead.
Since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt unto this day, I have even set upon unto you all my servants and the prophets, daily rising up early and sending them. Yet they hearkened not unto me, nor inclined their ear, but hardened their neck. They did worse than their fathers. Therefore thou shalt speak all these words unto them, but they will not hearken to thee. Thou shalt also call unto them, they will not answer thee. But thou shalt say unto them, this is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord their God.
Go ahead.
Nor receiveth correction. Truth is perished, and is cut off from their mouth.
Go ahead.
Cut off thine hair, O Jerusalem, and cast it away. And take up a lamentation on high places, for the Lord hath rejected and forsaken the generation of his wrath. For the children of Judah have done evil in my sight, saith the Lord. They have set their abominations in the house, which is called by my name, to pollute it.
Go ahead.
And they have built the high places of Tophet, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire.
Burning their children to the god of Molech. Go ahead.
Which I commanded them not, neither came it into my heart. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be called Tophet, nor the valley of the son of Hinnom, but the valley of the slaughter. For they shall bury in Tophet till there be no place.
Go ahead.
And the carcasses of this people shall be meat for the fowls of the heaven.
That's what we saw. We saw all the bones of the kings of Judah, the princes, and all the fancy men. Go ahead.
And the beasts of the earth, and none shall fray them away. Then will I cause to cease from the cities of Judah, and from the streets of Jerusalem, the voice of mirth, and the voice of gladness, and the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride, and the land shall be desolate.
And the land shall be desolate. Let's go and see when this is actually going to happen. Matthew the 23rd chapter. Matthew 23. And the land was going to be desolated. Matthew 23 and verse 1. Matthew 23 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Then spake Jesus to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, and therefore whosoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, but they say and do not.
Go ahead.
For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders.
So what did they do? What did the scribes and Pharisees do? They took the commandments of God and they wrote a book called the Talmud, which was like, if the commandment said thou shalt not steal, well, they got 400 examples of what you shouldn't do to be stealing. And they were following the Talmud versus the commandments themselves. But go ahead. So all these burdens they put on the people with these additional laws that weren't in the book, but they themselves weren't keeping them. Go ahead.
But they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
Uh-huh.
But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries.
Make broad their phylacteries, meaning their garments, you know, with the fringes on the bottom, so they can be seen of men. Go ahead.
And enlarge the borders of their garments.
Uh-huh.
And love the upmost rooms at feasts, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the markets, to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not ye called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ.
Even Christ.
And all ye are brethren.
All ye are brothers. Skip down to verse 27.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites!
Hypocrites.
For ye are like unto white white as sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones, and all uncleanness.
Spiritually dead. Go ahead.
Even so, ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within ye are full of hypocrisy and iniquity.
Go ahead.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because ye build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous. Say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we had not been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets.
Go ahead.
Wherefore ye be witness unto yourselves that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets.
Ye are the children of them. We are the children of them which killed the prophets. Go ahead.
Fill ye up in the measure of your fathers, ye serpents, ye generation of vipers. How can ye escape the damnation of hell?
Go ahead.
Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, some of them ye shall scourge in your synagogues, persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechias, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation.
He's telling the generation that he's talking to right now, all these things are going to come upon, all the curses we read in Deuteronomy are going to come upon that generation. Go ahead.
O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets and stonest them which are sent unto thee. How often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and ye would not.
He's letting them know, I didn't just show up here in the flesh. I've been your God since the beginning of time. I wanted to gather you. How often I would have gathered you, but you would not. Go ahead.
Behold, your house is left unto you desolate.
Uh-huh.
For I say unto you, ye shall see me henceforth. For I say unto you, ye shall not see me henceforth, till ye shall say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord.
Let's go look at the pronunciation. Luke 21. He just told you what was going to happen. Let's go see it in more detail. Luke 21. And when you read this to Sunday Christians, this blows their mind away because they had no clue Jesus said this. They have no clue that Jesus said what we're getting ready to read. And when you read it, if Jesus said it, it brings on a whole new meaning. I'm going to show you. Let's pick it up at verse 19. Luke 21 and verse 19. Luke 21 and verse 19. Go ahead.
In your patience possess ye your soul.
Uh-huh.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is near.
So Jesus is prophesying of something that's going to happen in the future beyond him on the earth. He's talking about something that's going to happen in 70 AD. You're going to see Jerusalem compassed with armies. Know that desolation I spoke about earlier is getting ready to happen. Go ahead.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled.
That all things which are written may be fulfilled. We read a bunch of them. We read it in Deuteronomy 28, Isaiah the 1st chapter. All these things the Lord said he's going to do, Deuteronomy the 31st chapter, the things he's going to do to this people, they're about to be fulfilled. Go ahead.
But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people.
So Jesus is only talking about the children of Israel. It's going to be great distress in the land of Israel, and wrath upon these people, the children of Israel. Go ahead.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword.
They're going to be killed.
And shall be led away captive into all nations.
And they're going to be led away captive into all nations. Where do we get that from? Deuteronomy 28, when he said they're going to be removed into all nations. So Jesus let them know this is getting ready to happen to y'all. Go ahead.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles.
Who are the Gentiles? The Caucasians, right? So when you look over in Jerusalem now, you're going to see Caucasians. Really what you see is a lot of these Khazarians, these people who converted to what they call Judaism in the 7th century AD, and now have come back talking about we the Jews. When we look at all these curses, and none of them fit them. I don't care what Hitler did to them. None of the curses fit that. Go ahead and read.
And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distresses of nations with perplexity, and sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken.
All right, stop there. Go to Hosea the 8th chapter. Hosea the 8th chapter. We know who the Gentiles are. Let's see what the Lord said about them. Hosea the 8th chapter. Yeah. They are the Caucasian people of the nations. I know. So they want to make Gentiles everybody except Israel. Because they don't want to be the Gentiles. Because if I go to Joel, the 3rd chapter, it says, prepare you Gentiles for war. Come on up with your mighty man, because I'm getting ready to beat you down. Hosea, the 8th chapter and verse 1.
So what, when we read that, it's all of us?
So everybody's there. They want to include everybody in that. It's just them.
It is.
You know he had to know that that's what that meant. They changed it.
Uh-huh. Hosea, the 8th chapter and verse 1. 1300.
Thank you.
Hosea 8 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Set the trumpet to thy mouth. He shall come as an eagle against the house of the Lord.
And he came, these Gentiles came as an eagle against the house of the Lord. Go ahead.
Because they have transgressed my covenant and trespassed against my law.
Go ahead.
Israel shall cry unto me, my God, we know thee.
Uh-huh.
Israel have cast off the thing that is good. The enemy shall pursue thee.
As it is to this day.
They have set up kings, but not by me.
Uh-huh.
They have made princes.
You go look at some of these jakes on YouTube. They got kings, princes, generals, sergeants. Go ahead.
I knew it not. Of their silver and their gold have they made them idols, and that they may be cut off. The calf,
And that's another thing too. You see these super brews with this Star of David, which is really the Star of Molech. You know, with this image, Star of Rimfrem. You're right, Star of Rimfrem. And they have no clue that you can't find nowhere in this Bible where David had a star. So why would you pick that up? Go ahead and read.
Thy calf, O Samaria, has cast thee off. Mine anger is kindled against them. How long will it be before they attain to innocence?
When are they going to stop doing this foolishness and become innocent? Go ahead.
For from Israel was it also, the workman made it. Therefore it is not God. But the calf of Samaria shall be broken in pieces.
Uh-huh.
For they have sown the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind.
Yes, we have.
It have no stalk, the bud shall yield no meal. If so be it yield, the stranger shall swallow it up. Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure.
They're going to be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure. Go ahead.
But they are gone up to Assyria, a wild ass alone by himself. Ephraim have hired lovers.
Go ahead.
Yea, though they have hired among the nations, now will I gather them, and they shall sorrow a little for the burden of the king of princes.
Uh-huh.
Because Ephraim have made many altars to sin. Altars shall be unto him to sin. I have written to him the great things of my law.
I have written to him, Israel, the great things of my law, the great things of my law. Go ahead.
But they were counted as a strange thing. They sacrificed flesh for the sacrifice of mine offerings, and eat it. But the Lord accepted them not. Now will he remember their iniquity, and visit their sins. They shall return to Egypt. But Israel,
They shall return to Egypt. What's that? Bondage. Go ahead.
But Israel have forgotten his maker, and builded temples, and Judah have multiplied fenced cities. I will send a fire upon his cities, and it shall devour the palaces thereof.
Let's go now to Romans the 11th chapter. Romans the 11th chapter. Romans the 11th chapter. Romans 11. And verse 1. Romans 11th chapter and verse 1. So Paul realized that these Romans had gotten really high-minded. And he had to write them some letters and try to straighten them out. But even still, it didn't work, because it was the Romans that took the book and turned it into the state religion. It was the Romans that took the book and started the Holy Roman Catholic Church. So they didn't do no good. They still went off on their own. Look what he had to tell them. Romans 11 and verse 1.
I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid.
Because they were running around talking about God and did away with Israel, and we the new Israelites. Go ahead.
For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
Uh-huh.
God have not cast away his people which he foreknew.
God can't cast away his people which he foreknew. He made a promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, some of his people can't get themselves discarded, but the people as a whole, God is going to take. Go ahead.
Know ye not that the scripture saith of Elijah, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, They have killed thy prophets and digged down thy altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life.
Mm-hmm.
But what said the answer of God unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal.
Go ahead.
Even so then, at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace.
And here we are, according to the election of grace. Why is it grace? Because our forefathers did not do the work. We got to do the work they didn't do. Go ahead.
And if by grace, then there's no more work.
It's all that simple.
Otherwise, grace is no more grace.
Uh-huh.
But if it be of works, then there's no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work.
It's all that simple. Go ahead.
What then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded.
As it is to this day. Skip down to verse 11.
I say then, have they stumbled, that they should fall? God forbid.
Uh-huh.
Rather through their fall, salvation is coming to the Gentiles, but to provoke them to jealousy.
To do what? To provoke them to jealousy. To provoke us to jealousy, to say, well, wait a minute. They calling on our God, and they think he's blessing them? This is our God. All we got to do is start obeying him, and we'll show them who he's blessing. Let's move on. Let's go to Deuteronomy 32nd chapter. We will come back to Romans 11. So put a finger there or something. We'll come back here and deal with this. I want to show you something. Deuteronomy 32. 32. Deuteronomy 32, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth.
Yes, sir.
My doctrine shall drop as the rain. My speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass.
Go ahead.
Because I will publish the name of the Lord. Ascribe ye greatness unto our God.
Yes, sir.
He is the rock.
Uh-huh.
His work is perfect. For all his ways are judgment. A God of truth, and without iniquity. Just and right is he.
Go ahead.
They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation.
Talking about our forefathers.
Do ye thus requite the Lord, O foolish people and unwise? Is not he the Father that hath brought thee? Hath he not made thee and established thee?
Go ahead.
Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee. Thy elders, and they will tell thee.
Go ahead.
When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
When he determined how many people was going to be on the planet, he determined that number based on how many of his people, because he was going to use them to go and teach the rest of the sons of Adam. Go ahead.
For the Lord's portion is his people.
That's right.
Jacob is the lot of his inheritance.
Go ahead.
He found them in the desert land, in the waste howling wilderness. He led him about. He instructed him. He kept him as the apple of his eye.
God considers you the apple of his eye. Go ahead.
And as an eagle stirreth up her nest, and floateth over her young, and spreadeth abroad her wings, and taketh them, and beareth them on her wings. So the Lord alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields.
Mm-hmm.
And he made him suck the honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter of kine, and milk of sheep, with fat of lambs, and the rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of wheat. And thou didst drink the pure blood of the grape.
In other words, he blessed our forefathers, and they turned on him. Go ahead.
But Jeshurun waxed fat,
Once they got fat, what happened?
and kicked.
They kicked against God. Go ahead.
And thou art waxen fat, and thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook God, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation.
That's why sometimes poverty might be a blessing. If you're going to get some money and go crazy, you might be better off staying poor. Go ahead.
They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods.
They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods.
With abomination provoked they him to anger.
Uh-huh.
They sacrificed him to devils, not to God.
Talking about our forefathers. They had the God of creation. At this time, they had seen him at some point, and they still sacrificed to devils. Go ahead.
To gods whom they knew not.
Uh-huh.
To new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not.
Go ahead.
Of the rock that begot thee thou art unmindful, and hast forgotten God that formed thee.
Go ahead.
And when the Lord saw it, he abhorred them,
He abhorred them.
because of the provoking of his sons and his daughters.
He knew if the adults were doing this, they were going to teach the children. Go ahead.
And he said, I will hide my face from them, and I will see what their end shall be.
Uh-huh.
For they are a very forward generation, children in whom is no faith.
And to this day, that's our problem. We have no faith in God. We'll try to do the law, but when it comes to really believing that God is going to do what He said He's going to do, we have little faith. The Sunday church has all the faith in the world and no commandments. We got the commandments and little faith. We got to increase our faith. Go ahead.
They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God.
Look what he said. The Israel had moved God to jealousy with a fake God. Go ahead.
They have provoked me to anger with their vanity.
Uh-huh.
And I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people.
Didn't we read in Romans 11th chapter that he was using the Gentiles to provoke us to anger? Here it is right here. Here's the prophecy. Read that again.
I will move them to jealousy with those that are not a people.
Uh-huh.
I will provoke them to anger with a foolish
With a foolish nation. What's a more foolish nation than a nation that can read this book? It's in their language. And what it says about them, what it says about us, and they ignore it all and just go about their business, and we're going to do Sunday, and we're going to do Easter, and we're going to do Good Friday. That's a fool. Go ahead and read.
For as a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn into the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischief upon them. I will spend my arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger, and devoured with the burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, and with the poison of serpents of the dust.
Go ahead.
The sword without, the terror within.
Go ahead.
Shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling also with the man of gray hair.
And if you go look at what happened in 70 AD when Jesus, remember he prophesied what was going to happen to him? In 70 AD when it actually happened, they destroyed Jerusalem down to the ground. They killed babies, women, children. They killed everything they could get their hands on. They starved the people out to the point where the people started eating their own children. Go ahead and read.
I said I would scatter them into the corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
And that's exactly what happened. We just recently woke up and know who we are. Go ahead.
Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy.
And the reason why he woke us up and let us know who we are, because he said, look, unless I had feared the wrath of the enemy, if they continued in their ignorance and not knowing who they are, this enemy of theirs would overtake them and keep them as an enemy. Go ahead.
Lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely. Unless they should say, our hand is high.
Our hand is high. We got these Negroes and we did it all ourselves. Go ahead.
And the Lord have not done all this.
Well, we know what happened. We know who put us in their hands. And what they did to us after we put in their hands is on them. Go ahead.
But they are a nation void of counsel. Neither is there any understanding in them.
Go ahead.
Oh, that they were wise, and they understood this. They that would come, that they would consider their latter end.
Go ahead.
How should one chase 1,000, and two put 10,000 to flight?
That's what we're supposed to. That's the power we're supposed to have. One should be able to chase 1,000, and two could put 10,000 to flight. Go ahead.
Except their rock has sold them, and the Lord has shut them up.
Go ahead.
For their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges.
Go ahead.
For their vine is the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Gomorrah.
As it is to this day, and they are promoting that behavior like it's normal. And they're bringing it into the classrooms to your children, acting like it's normal. Commercials. And I don't know what to do about that, because, you know, you start showing people a certain thing and they'll start thinking it's normal. But go ahead.
Their grapes are grapes of gall, and their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of dragons and cruel venom of asps. Is not this laid up in store with me and sealed up among my treasures? To me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them make haste.
And the Lord Jesus came and showed us, he told us, look, the desolation is coming. Revelation, go back to Romans 11 chapter. But he used these Gentiles to provoke us to anger. And it worked. Because I'm angry every time I see them on TV. Right. I'm angry when they profess that they know my God and they serving my God and they don't have no clue who my God is. I want to show them what they don't know. Look what he said here. Romans 11 chapter and verse 11. Romans 11 and verse 11.
Verse 11. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid.
Amen.
But rather through their fall, salvation is coming to the Gentiles
Uh-huh.
to provoke them to jealousy.
To provoke us to jealousy. Go ahead.
Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? For I speak to you Gentiles as much as I am the apostle of Gentiles. I magnify my office.
And Paul was the apostle to the Gentiles. He said, look, I magnify my office. Go ahead.
If by any means I may provoke to immolation them which are of my flesh, and might save some of them.
Uh-huh.
For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead?
That's right. So Paul is writing these Romans saying, look, don't get high-minded. You know, God did this to them, but he did it to them for a reason. Go ahead and read.
For if the first fruits be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches.
And we are the branches. That means we're holy. But go ahead.
And if some of the branches be broken off,
Why?
and thou, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them,
Uh-huh.
and with them partakers of the root and the fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branch.
Don't boast against the branches. Why? Go ahead.
But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee.
That's right. You are part of the root. You've been grafted in as a wild olive tree into this root. Don't think that you're the root now. And that's exactly what they've done when they started these different churches. The Holy Roman Catholic Church says that they are the mother church. They are the root. Go ahead.
Thou wilt say, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in.
Uh-huh.
Well, because of unbelief they were broken off.
Go ahead.
And thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear.
Yes, that's exactly what they should do. They should say, wait a minute, I'm looking back in this Old Testament, and every time they stepped out of line, he cracked their head, he killed them, he beat them down, and I'm serving this God now. I'm serving him now. What is he going to do to me? That's the fear that should be in them. Go ahead.
21. For if God spared not the natural branches,
Uh-huh.
take heed lest he also spare not thee.
It's all that simple.
Behold,
That's something else. He done told Israel, you got to keep these commandments, keep the Sabbath day, and then they professed that Jesus came in the flesh and said, Gentiles ain't got to do nothing. Go ahead.
behold, therefore the goodness and severity of God, of them which fell, severity.
Talking about us.
But toward thee, goodness.
Uh-huh. Because he gave you a chance to get in. Go ahead.
If thou continue in his goodness.
If you continue in his goodness, in other words, if you continue doing what he told Israel to do, go ahead.
Otherwise thou also shall be cut off.
And they don't understand this. That they don't do, the Lord told Israel to keep the commandments of God. They didn't keep them, and he cut them off. Now these Gentiles showed up talking about, well, we ain't got to keep the commandments of God. Paul just told them, if you don't do what he told them to do, you're going to be cut off. Go ahead.
And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief,
The moment they wake up and realize what happened and start doing what they need to do, go ahead.
shall be grafted in.
We grafted right back in. In fact, we grafted in ahead of that wild olive branch. Go ahead.
For God is able to graft them in again.
Uh-huh.
For if thou wert cut off out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted in their own olive tree?
So all that's simple. So tell the Gentiles, don't get high-minded. Go ahead, these Romans, go ahead.
For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery,
Uh-huh.
that ye should be wise in your own conceit,
Talking to these Gentiles.
that blindness in part has happened to Israel,
In part.
until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in.
No, so, wait, hold on, let's keep going. Let's go to Ezekiel, the 4th chapter. Ezekiel 4. I just want to read a couple more scriptures here. Ezekiel 4. Ezekiel, the 4th chapter. Ezekiel 4. And let's see what the Lord had the prophet Ezekiel write to this people. Pick it up in verse 1. Ezekiel 4 and verse 1.
Thou also, son of man, take thee a tile,
That's a brick.
and lay it before thee, and portray upon it the city, even Jerusalem,
So draw the city of Jerusalem on it. Go ahead.
and lay siege against it,
Take that brick and lay siege against it. Go ahead.
and build a fort against it,
Uh-huh.
and cast a mount against it, and set the camp also against it, and set battering rams against it, round about.
So Ezekiel's making this thing. He took this brick, put a picture of the city of Jerusalem. I know everybody think he's going crazy. And he's putting all these armaments that's pointing at that brick as against it. Go ahead.
Moreover, take thou unto thee an iron pan, and set it for a wall of iron between thee and the city, and set thy face against it. And it shall be besieged, and thou shalt lay siege against it. This shall be a sign to the house of Israel.
Go ahead.
Lie thou also upon thy left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it. According to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon it, thou shalt bear their iniquity. For I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity, according to the number of the days, 390 days. So shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel.
Wow, this is interesting. If it's he said 390 days, for I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity. And then he goes on to say 390 days. You know, I don't know this for sure. I don't want to research this, but I know that we've been here 400 years. But if it was 390 years that this punishment was going to be, then we're just almost out of it. But go ahead and read.
So shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. When thou shalt accomplish them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day.
So 390 days and 40, that's 430 days, or 430 years. That's the same time that they were in Egypt. Go ahead and read.
Therefore thou shalt set thy face toward the siege of Jerusalem, and thine arm shall be uncovered. Thou shalt prophesy against it. And behold, I will lay bands upon thee, and thou shalt not turn thee from one side to another, till thou hast ended the days of thy siege.
Skip down to verse 13.
And the Lord said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whether I will drive them.
We were going to be among the Gentiles eating defiled bread like chitlins and hog maws and scrimp and yeah. But this was prophesied. Go ahead and read.
And then said I, Ah, Lord God, behold, my soul have not been polluted.
Lord told him, y'all going to be eating defiled bread among Gentiles. Ezekiel said, I ain't never ate nothing polluted. Go ahead.
For from my youth up, even until now, have I not eaten that which dieth of itself, or is torn in pieces. Neither came there abominable flesh into my mouth.
In other words, I kept the dietary law. Now you telling me we're going to be in a land among the Gentiles, not keeping it? Go ahead.
And he said unto me, Lo, I have given thee cow's dung for man's dung. Thou shalt prepare thy bread.
Now he had told him up in the scripture, we didn't read it, but he had told him, look, as another sign, I want you to get some done, and I want you to make some cakes of it. And Ezekiel started bargaining with him. Wait a minute. Oh, that's polluting my body. So then he changed it and gave him cow's dung. But go ahead.
Then he said unto me, Lo, I have given thee cow's dung for man's dung. Thou shalt prepare thy bread therewith. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment, that they may want bread and water, and be astonished one with another, and consume away their iniquity.
All right, let's go now to, I'm going to skip over the kingdoms that he used to beat us down. I'll put that for another class. Let's go to Jeremiah, the 4th chapter. Because he used the Gentile kingdoms to breathe life into us. And we are now alive. Jeremiah, the 4th chapter, in verse 1. Jeremiah 4 and verse 1.
If thou wilt return, O Israel, saith the Lord, return unto me. If thou wilt put away thine abominations out of my sight, then shalt thou not remove.
So, in other words, you won't be removed. But so he's giving us chance over and over and over to amend our ways. But go ahead.
And thou shalt swear the Lord liveth in truth and judgment and in righteousness, and the nations shall bless themselves in him, and in him shall they glory. For thus saith the Lord to the men of Judah and Jerusalem, break up your fallow ground, and sow not among thorns.
Go ahead.
Circumcise yourselves to the Lord, and take away the foreskins of your heart. Ye men of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem, lest my fury come forth like fire and burn that none can quench it. because of the evil of your doing.
Go ahead.
Declare ye in Judah and publish in Jerusalem, and say, blow ye the trumpet in the land, cry, gather together and say, assemble yourselves and let us go into the defense cities. Set up the standard toward Zion, retire and stay not, for I will bring evil from the north and a great destruction.
Evil from the north, and where did Rome come from in position to Jerusalem? The north. Go ahead.
The lion has come up from this thicket,
Who is the lion? Babylon, right? The lion with eagle's wings? Go ahead.
and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way.
And he has done his destroying. Go ahead.
He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy city shall be laid waste without an inhabitant. For this gird you with sackcloth, lament, howl, for the fierce anger of the Lord is not turned back from us. And it shall come to pass at that day, saith the Lord, that the heart of the king shall perish, and the heart of the princes and the priests shall be astonished, and the prophets shall wonder.
Go ahead.
They said, Lord God, surely thou hast greatly deceived this people. And Jerusalem saying, ye shall have peace, whereas the sword reacheth unto the soul. At that time shall it be said to this people and to Jerusalem, a dry wind of the high place in the wilderness toward the daughter of my people, not to fan nor to cleanse.
Go ahead.
Even a full wind from those places shall come unto me. Now also will I give sentence against them.
And this is the same person saying I'm going to give sentence against them was the one that came in the flesh and said, okay, it's getting ready to happen. You're getting ready to go into all nations of the earth in captivity. And Jerusalem is going to be trodden down to the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. Go ahead.
Behold, he shall come up come up as clouds, and his chariots shall be as whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles. Woe unto us, for we are spoiled. O Jerusalem, watch thy heart from wickedness.
Watch thy heart from wickedness.
That thou mayest be saved. How long shall thy vain thoughts lodge within you?
Whose song was that? What's the name? Whose song was that? Watch thy heart from wickedness. The girl, Lauren Hill. Lauren Hill? Okay, that's who it was. She read that scripture in one of the songs. Let's go now to let's see here. Let's go to Hosea, the 5th chapter. And we almost out here. We got a couple more scriptures. Hosea 5. Hosea 5. That was actually her best album.
Yeah.
She talked a lot
Those are
about.
the one that took her down.
Yeah, it is. And you know when she actually got hurt and was taken down, when she stood up in front of the Pope and said what she said, it was over for her. Because this man still, book said he still got power and that he gonna destroy the holy and mighty people. So there are some things you can't get out and do right now. Hosea the 5th chapter and verse 1. Hosea 5 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Hear ye this, O priests, and hearken, ye house of Israel, and give ye ear, O house of the king. For judgment is toward you, because ye have been a snare of Mizpah, and a net spread upon Tabor. And the revelers are profound to make slaughter, though I have been a rebuker of them all. I know Ephraim, and Israel is not hid from me. For now, O Ephraim, thou committest whoredom, and Israel is defiled. They will not frame their doings to turn to their gods, for the spirit of whoredoms is in the midst of them, and they have not known the Lord.
Go ahead.
And the pride of Israel doth testify to his face. Therefore shall Israel and Ephraim fall in their iniquity. Judah also shall fall with them.
Go ahead.
They shall go with their flocks and with their herds to seek the Lord, but they shall not find him. He hath withdrawn himself from them.
As it is to this day, if you have no commandments, go ahead.
They have dealt treacherously against the Lord, but they have begotten strange children. Now shall a month devour them with their portion.
Skip down to verse 15.
I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense.
I'm going to go and return to my place which is in heaven until they acknowledge what they have done. Go ahead.
And seek my face.
Until they seek my face. And he used these Gentiles to beat this acknowledgement and this seek into us. Go ahead.
In their affliction, they will seek me early.
It's all that simple. And that's what has to happen to us. Deuteronomy 30th chapter. Then we got one more scripture after this. Deuteronomy 30. Because he put everything in the beginning. He told us what was going to happen. He told us how it was going to end. Deuteronomy 30th chapter. Gave us all this information and we still couldn't stop it happening to us. Deuteronomy 30 and verse 1. Well, here we are. We know what it is now and we know what to do. Deuteronomy 30 verse 1. Go ahead.
It shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse.
The blessings. When did we have the blessings? During Solomon's day, some part of David's day. We had some good kings that were blessed. Asa was one of them for a point until he became unblessed. But we were blessed at some point. He says, so the blessings and the curse. We done took the curse. Go ahead.
Which I have said before thee.
Who said it before us?
The Most High.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether the Lord thy God have driven
When you
thee.
find yourself in this captivity and you wonder, why do these Caucasians have such strength over me? How come I can't get up? I'm always down. Why am I the tail and not the head? Why can't I? How come I don't lend and I'm always borrowing? Why is all this happening to me, to people that look like me? Go ahead.
And shall return to the Lord thy God.
And then return to God.
And shall obey his voice according to all that I commanded thee this day.
Not something that he said in the New Testament. Not something he said in Revelations. Obey his voice to all he said in that day, which is what? Keep my commandments and live.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul.
Go ahead.
That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity, and will have compassion upon thee.
That's right.
And will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God has scattered.
Who scattered us? That's what I want to say. The Lord is the one who put us here. Now what they did when we got here is on them. Go ahead.
If any of thine be driven out into the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he bring thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers.
Go ahead.
And the Lord thy God will circumcise thy heart, and the heart of thy seed, to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live.
Go ahead.
And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thy enemies,
Amen.
and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee.
So they're going to pay for what they've done. Go ahead.
And thou shalt return and obey the voice of the Lord, and do all his commandments which I command thee this day.
Go ahead.
And the Lord thy God will make thee plenteous in every work of thy hand, and the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, for good.
For good.
For the Lord will again rejoice over thee for good,
For good.
as he rejoiced over thy father.
Once you start keeping his commandments, the Lord starts looking at you with favor. Like I said, we've been in this captivity, in this curse for so long. It might take a while for you to see that favor coming up on you, but it's coming. Go ahead.
If thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
It's all that simple.
to keep his commandments and his statutes which are written in this book of the law. And if thou turn unto the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, for this commandment which I command thee this day is not hidden from thee, neither is it far off.
And that's the beauty of this whole thing. And all our captivity and all our trouble, this book it was written thousands of years ago, and we still got the same words now.
Amen.
It's right here waiting for us, just waiting for us. Go ahead.
It is not in heaven, and thou shouldest say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it?
Go ahead.
Neither is beyond the sea, that thou shouldest say, who shall go over the sea for us to bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it?
That we may hear it and what? And do it. Go ahead.
But the word is very nigh, or near unto thee, in thy mouth, and thy heart, that thou mayest do it.
That thou mayest do it. So you have this word now, that you can do it. Go ahead.
See, I have set before thee this day life and good, death and evil. And that I command thee this day to love the Lord thy God, and to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, and his statutes, and his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply.
Go ahead.
And the Lord thy God shall bless thee in the land whether thou goest to possess it.
Go ahead.
But if thy heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but thou shalt be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them,
Go ahead.
I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish.
I denounce you this day, and ye shall surely perish. Go
And
ahead.
you shall not prolong your days upon the land, whether thou passest over Jordan to go to possess it.
Go ahead.
I call heaven and earth to record this day against you.
Go
I
ahead.
have set before you life and death.
Life
blessing
and
curse.
death. Blessings and curses. Lord said, I set this before you. Life and death. Blessings and curses. Look what he said.
Therefore choose life.
Choose. You got to choose.
Yes.
That's why I'm pro-life. But I'm also pro-choice. Because anybody that goes out there, that's their choice.
Yes.
They have free will. I'm not going to tell, well, you can't do that because I don't believe in it. No, that's your choice. I'll tell you what thus saith the Lord. If you still want to do it, that is your choice. Go ahead.
that both thou and thy seed may live, that thou mayest love the Lord thy God, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and thou mayest cleave unto him, for he is thy life.
That's right.
And the length of thy days, thou mayest dwell in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them.
Last scripture, Hosea 2nd chapter, Hosea 2. Hosea the 2nd chapter. Hosea 2, I'm going to pick it up at verse 14. Hosea 2 and verse 14. This is also the scripture that we use, that you can use to show what the Lord is going to do for Israel when the abomination of desolation stands up in the holy place, and he takes Israel to the place of safety.
Yes.
He's showing you here, partly here, what he's going to do when you get there. Verse 14, Hosea 2 and verse 14.
Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her.
And the Lord don't change. He brought Israel into the wilderness out of Egypt, out of that bondage. He's going to bring us into a wilderness out of this bondage. Go ahead.
And I will give her her vineyards from thence, in the valley of Achor, from a door of hope.
Uh-huh.
And she shall sing there as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of
It's
Egypt.
going to be just like when we came up out of the land of Egypt, except more obedience.
Yes.
Go
And
ahead.
it shall be at that day, saith the Lord, that thou shalt call me Ishmael,
Uh-huh. Which means my husband.
and shall call me no more Bali.
Which means my Lord, or some pagan god that they were worshiping. Go ahead.
For I will take away the names of Balaam out of her mouth,
Uh-huh.
and they shall no more be remembered by their names.
So when is that going to happen? When he restores to the earth a perfect language, a pure language. Go ahead.
And in that day will I make a covenant for them, and with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things of the ground. And I will break the bow of the sword of the battle out of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely.
Amen.
I will betroth thee unto me forever.
We're going to be married to God forever. Go ahead.
Yea, I will betroth thee unto me in righteousness, and in judgment, and in loving kindness, and in mercy.
Uh-huh.
And I will even betroth thee unto me in faithfulness, and thou shalt know thou shalt know the Lord.
Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in that day I will hear, saith the Lord. I will hear the heavens, and they shall hear the earth.
Go ahead.
And the earth shall hear the corn, and the wine, and the oil, and they shall hear Jezreel.
Y'all hearing them right now. Go ahead.
I will sow her unto me in the earth, and I will have mercy upon her that had not obtained mercy.
Talking about us.
And I will say to them that were not my people, thou art my people. And they shall say, thou art my God.
Amen. I hope somebody got something out of this class. Praise God.
Now behold the Lamb. What volume on music? The precious Lamb of God. Born into sin that I may live again. The precious Lamb of God. Now behold the Lamb. The